Most people don't understand why or how other people become addicted to drugs, alcohol, greed, sex, gambling, or any other substance or way of life that completely dominates their existence.
There are different paths to addiction. Kids see nicotine as a pathway to adulthood, and so they tend to be exposed to it at an early age, and many of them start to use it. And some people believe that nicotine is a gateway drug, that when they start to smoke, it introduces them to the feeling of using drugs, and they start to be less afraid of drugs. You know, alcohol is probably the second drug that most kids get exposure to. And even today, in the midst of this opiate epidemic, we see as many people with an alcohol problem as we do with an opiate problem, because it is so available and so easy to get. So once a kid is smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, they're now in a drug culture. And they're going to start to experiment with whatever coming down the pike. And so because opiates are so available and ubiquitous, it's very likely that they're going to get exposed to Vicodin or Oxy or one of the other synthetic opiates in the course of their socialization. And because opiates are so much more addicting in many respects, and because they're more likely to have an immediate effect, kids are drawn to them.
Have you ever ridden in a car driving by someone, including yourself, who has been using alcohol or drugs? Do you ever use alcohol or drugs to feel better about yourself or to fit in? Have you ever used alcohol or drugs when you are alone?
Once you find drugs and realize that can be a solution or something that will numb the pain, I think that that's when teenagers really turn to it as a coping mechanism.
I stopped doing anything unless it involved me getting high.
Do you ever forget things you did while using alcohol or drugs? Do family or friends ever tell you to cut down on your use of alcohol or drugs? Have you ever gotten into trouble while you were using alcohol or drugs?
Often, it's experienced very differently by the person who's living inside of a drug experience. Very often they're excited and enthusiastic. They feel differently. They often feel more powerful. They feel more creative. They feel like they're getting away with something. So that very often, the teenagers I talk to, they feel like outlaws. They're showing the world. And so they don't think about the risks or the consequences because they're in this mode where they're excited and enjoying the high.
That's like what separates me from some other people, is that I can't control it. And the scary thing is if you haven't tried it, you don't know if you can either. And, since I was 17, I've buried over 30 friends from the disease of addiction.